Hey everybody! Welcome to P&M's Movie Criticisms. I'm Miss M.
And I'm Miss P.
How's everybody doing tonight? Alright, well, if you're new, sit back and relax and join us on this ride. And if you're coming back, welcome. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, where's my song? Where is my hot sauce song? Well, I'm going to give you what you asked for because that's what you do for your fans, for your fan base, your loyal listeners, and newcomers. Hey, Miss P, I need you to hype me up.
Okay. You don't need no hype. You better hype your girl up. You don't need no hype. You better hype your girl up. You don't need no hype. You better hype your girl up. You don't need no hype. You better hype your girl up.
You don't need no hype. She got the hot sauce. She got the hot sauce. I got the hot sauce. Who got the hot sauce? You got the hot sauce. Hot sauce. That's right, everybody. We've got the hot sauce. So speaking of hot sauce, we want to talk about what's hot and what's not with movies. Miss P, what are we reviewing today?
We are reviewing one of the international movies, which is Apocalypto by Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson. Don't we love Mel Gibson? I know I do. So, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about this movie, before we can really talk about it, we want to we want to rate it on our scale of hot sauce. So if you're new, basically we have our P&M movie criticisms hot sauce chart. Okay, it can be found if you want to look at it. If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, there's a picture. There's also a picture on our website, pnmoviecriticisms.com. But basically at the top we have the Carolina Reaper, hot, super hot. This movie leaves nothing out. It has everything in it to capture your attention and to be memorable. Underneath the Carolina Reaper is the Ghost Pepper. It's hot, it's amazing, you loved it, but there might have been something that it was missing. Then underneath that you have the habanero. The habanero is right. Okay, this movie's good. I liked it. It was nice. I liked it a lot, but it definitely could be better. Beneath the habanero is the jalapeno. The jalapeno is like, meh, it's all right. It's okay. Yeah, all right. But the bell pepper at the bottom of our list is a complete waste of time. You hated it. You want your life back the minutes that you spent wasting watching it. And you're frankly quite upset at that. With that being said, Miss P, how do you rate Mel Gibson's Apocalypto?
I give it a habanero.
Habanero! Ha-cha-cha, habanero. Okay, so you're giving it a habanero.
Yes. For this week, I'm giving it a habanero. Miss M, what are you rating it?
I'm going to rate it a jalapeno.
That's really, really, really low.
We gotta provide a justification because, we just can't say it. We have to run it through our P&M's movie criticisms criteria. So, Miss P, can you tell our fantastic audience just a bit more about our criteria, please?
Sure can. We have number 9. Do we like it or do we love it? Number 8. Is it historically accurate? Number 7. Did it strike my emotions? Number 6. Did it keep my attention? Number 5. Production elements. Number 4, directing. Number 3, quality of acting. Number 2, quality and effects. And my number 1 favorite thing that we talk about is the cinematography.
Perfect. Yes, love it. So, with that said, Miss P, do you like it or do you love it?
Middle this week. I liked both. I liked it and I loved it at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to be honest with you, Miss P. It doesn't make sense to me. Going through our criteria, it'll help us, figure out exactly what you're talking about. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't really like it.
Ooh. Okay. Is there any particular reason why you didn't like it so much?
You have all of this work going into the production design. There is amazing clothing, makeup. There are the pyramids. there. It's all great. The scenery, everything. But I feel like our story for providing a story arc, a very solid beginning, middle, and ending, really wasn't capitalized upon. We spent so much time putting all of this fantastic energy into the visuals. I just really wanted more from the story.
Okay, I'm not gonna try to change your mind, but we'll
Really?
get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's go through our criteria, and who knows, maybe I'll take it up from a jalapeno. We'll see.
All right. All right. Is the movie historically accurate? No. The reason being is yes, they're in the Yucatan. They're speaking the language that's there today of that time. But we have to get two things straight, and one thing's for certain. The only thing that I'm gonna say is the historical accuracy is not there. And that's because I feel like Mel Gibson does this with a lot of his movies. I love Mel Gibson. He blends historically accurate things with action, drama, violence, but sometimes it gets mixed together too much. Like, for example, this one is like it's given me Incan and Mayan mixed together because there's just things that I was like, smallpox didn't come about until the Spaniards got there.
Hmm.
So having all these people that are sick with smallpox and having all these people that were sick and all this stuff, I was like, how? Smallpox was not a disease that they had until the Spaniards came. And it's kind of like the Mayans, it's like the Mayans were first, then the Aztecs, but it's like 600 years in between them and the Aztecs. So that was kind of weird. That closer towards the end of the movie, it got kind of like, oh, the sickness. Don't touch them because they're sick. I'm like, they have smallpox wounds. That's not accurate. So that's why I'm so big on historical accuracy because it's not accurate.
That is true. The Mayans would have eventually been taken over by the Aztecs, and it would have been the Aztecs that would have come over, would have really come into contact with the settlers coming in, the European settlers. So yeah, and predating the Mayans, you would have had the Olmecs, who are also situated in Mexico. So, yeah. So, geographically, yeah, all throughout Mexico, you had the Mayans, the Central America, and Guatemala. Yeah, there were some things that were historically accurate, like the carrying around of the royalty, the clothing that they wore, the opulence, the pyramids and everything there that they were being doted upon. Yeah, there is that. There is that. I think but for being a vast jungle, it wouldn't have been like that because the Mayans had a very sophisticated infrastructure. They had super highways that were used for trading. So you definitely want to have more roads, highways, more paths, more sophisticated. They had an intricate system even for delivering messages. So, you don't really you see a jungle, you see some villages, you see the Mayan city, but there's a complete absence of Mayan infrastructure. But to be honest, to go that far as to build up the infrastructure would be absolutely insane. And even if I were to do a movie like this, even I wouldn't build up on the Mayan infrastructure because I don't really think that was a movie about that. So definitely, yeah, there are just some elements there. Yeah, read about the Mayan if you're interested in the Mayan culture, they're brilliant people. They knew how to read the stars. Everybody's familiar with the Mayan calendar. They were astronomers. And quite gifted. They were scientists. So, you didn't see any of that. What you saw was the carnal nature of humanity in this film. That's what you saw. That's all.
It was just little things. It was just little things that made me feel like it's out of place. But for the movie itself, it was well acted. Like, I know Miss M just didn't like the fact that, she said, it had good stylistic things. The wardrobe choices were good. But see, here's the thing. I really like this movie, but I don't like it enough. Like in 2006, it was good for what it was. Like, this is a little dated now. So when you go back to watch it, you see all the flaws and the inaccuracies, right? But back in 2006, when it was brand new and just it was one of those things that was like, my goodness, they're speaking the language. The everything visually is nice. They even wore the mask and the feathers and the hair, and they sat in the chair doing, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but this is still historical stuff, the
Mhm.
jewelry that they wore, the piercings, and so they wore prosthetic noses, and they also wore prosthetic ears to gauge their ears.
Yeah. And yeah, the hats and everything that they wore, the taller the hat, the higher your status.
Yeah.
The more clothing, the more clothing, the more intricately designed, the higher your status. That is true in the Mayan culture, as is in any culture. You can find the higher the status, the better the clothing. It's the same thing here. We don't really necessarily have really big, tall hats, but yeah, that is historically accurate. Yeah. So, did you have anything else you wanted to say about like historical accuracy, Miss P?
It's just, remember, the Incans and the Mayans and the Aztecs were all three different people.
Yeah, in
And
different
so,
regions
yes,
too.
and don't blur them together because they're different. They're
And
different.
that's right. Yes, and they go through different, and they're also in different regions. Some of them might do overlap, but they do have different regions that they were in throughout Central to South America too. This is also one thing historically we have to remember. However, is I don't think it's the most important aspect of this film because this film, I do believe, is purely for entertainment. However, it is something that I would like to address. So, number 7, Miss P, did it strike your emotion?
Yes, it did. It struck my emotions because each character had a character arc. Each character, even though short or short lived, each character had a character arc. And you have to look at it like this. I want to do number 3 so bad, but I'm not going to. I don't want to but yes, it struck my emotions because each character, I feel like, even though some fell flat, there was a character arc there. Like, we're following one person. We're literally following the one person.
Jaguar Paw? Jaguar Paw?
Mhm. We're following him, and we follow his trials and tribulations. We follow him putting his, well, spoiler alert. We we follow him putting his wife in the hole. We follow him getting captured. We follow him going to the Mayan empire. Basically, we follow his character arc. And the little girl that had smallpox prophesied and was like, "Listen, this is what it is, because he's amongst you right now."
That is true. She said the jaguar. She basically said, what's going to happen to the daytime, the jaguar. And one of the things that and I guess maybe I would have liked to have seen more because this film was designed to be an epic. You can tell there are certain films that are just designed to be epics. Okay? And when it doesn't meet that level, I don't like it. I don't like that because you're missing crucial elements. And what I'm talking about is Jaguar Pa. Now there's Jaguar Pa in our story. This is our protagonist and we follow him. As Miss P said, we follow him in his journey. He's playful, a very young man, playful with a beautiful young pregnant wife, a young child. And let's bring it back to Jaguar Pa. And Jaguar Pa, he actually is real. He's real. Okay, he goes back to the Tico. All right, so back to 370 CE. Okay, there was a ruler by the name of Jaguar Pa the Great, Chok Tok Ichak the first in Mayan. They say he was maybe what, the ninth or the 14th of the dynasty of the succession of Tikal. Okay, and that he was great. They even have his palace, which still stands, according to archaeologists, to this day. Okay, Jaguar Paw, he was considered a great king, a great leader, who he was known for being a pragmatic and versatile ruler. This was Jaguar Paw. Now, they do say that on about, if you go to education.com, nationalgeographic.org, January 16th, 78, Mayan king Jaguar Paw was killed in what is now Tico, Guatemala. Jaguar Paw's death was probably a result of the arriving of an invading army from Teotihuacan, a city in the highlands of the Valley of Mexico, near what is today Mexico City, Mexico. Okay, this is the first paragraph that I am reading. Okay. Um, Tico was a very amazing city. It was a metropolis with great advancements. We must not forget that they had so many different ways. They had terrace farming, they had many ways of farming, and many intricate trading systems. And they also had, again, a super highway. So anyways, I guess what I'm saying is Jaguar Paw is real. Okay? It would have been so awesome. It would have been so awesome with all of that prophecy to see him just come up and take over and become Mayan king. It would have been great. I would have loved to see this. This would have, as Miss P already said, she already said that, these characters have great arcs in them. There's involvement, there's an evolving there. But this would have been an even greater evolution of the character of Jaguar if he actually ascended to the throne and if we actually got to see this. Because it was prophetic. Spoiler alert, the moment you get to the top, to the climax, and when he's at the top of the pyramid and then they're about to throw down the axe, what happens? You're gonna have to watch the film if you haven't seen it. There's something celestial in the skies that happens, right? And not to mention his name is prophetic in itself, and that is a jaguar. Because when you look at the Mayan culture, the jaguar is revered. The jaguar is a powerful symbol of, well, being indomitable. You're at the top. You are the predator that eats all predators in the Mayan culture. So to be a jaguar, to be named after a jaguar, and to then do all of the things and have all of the achievements that this character did, this amazing. So I just would have liked to have seen more.
So here's the thing. That movie was 2 hours and 19 minutes. If we would have seen more, that would have been like a 3, maybe 4 hour movie.
But a
Because,
lot of that didn't even need to be. It definitely could have been restructured and, I mean, they know how to cut. They know
but
how to
it
do
wouldn't
movie
have been,
magic.
but it wouldn't have been a Mel Gibson film without the gore and the running through the forest. And it wouldn't have been a Mel Gibson film. If you look at all of his films he's done in succession, they're all gory. Every single last one of them are gory. Every single last one of them have character arcs. Every single last one of them presents some kind of historical accuracy. Like you have to, but you can't take it at face value. You have to dig a little deeper sometimes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for a Mel Gibson film, like honestly, for a Mel Gibson film, if you look at all the films that he's done that have been, he did Braveheart, right? There was some historical accuracy in there, but then most of it was drama, action, murder, death, gore. Then you have The Patriot, same thing. People get burned in the church, gore, pull at your heartstrings. Then you have The Passion of the Christ.
Yeah.
Like they all follow that same progression. You have the main character. Main character has something tragic happens. They have to overcome. This is the process of them overcoming, which is all the action and the drama that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. All very accurate. So did it strike my emotions? I like the children the most.
Oh,
I like the children, especially when they've enslaved the adults and the children, they follow their parents as far as they can, as far as they can. And it's just the children following their parent, their enslaved, captured, bound parents. And then the little girl, she doesn't have the screen time and everything, but she says, "Don't worry, I'm gonna take care of them. They're mine now. Don't worry." That was so heart-wrenching. I was like, "You're such a brave little girl. Little girl's so brave, Mama. Be proud." I just love the children throughout the film. The children for me and their role and how they acted. That for me is what really got my emotions. I didn't really care about the adults. They didn't do anything for me. Okay. The only adult that I would say possibly did anything would be Seven, Jaguar Paw's wife. When she was, spoiler alert, when she was giving birth, going into labor and about to drown at the same time, and keeping her boy up on her shoulders so that he wouldn't drown. Okay. Mama was doing her thing. Okay. She was doing her thing. That scene right there, that struck my emotions the most. And the children. Other than that, that's it. That's it for me.
the another part that struck my emotions was the mom of the chunky boys. The mom, the old lady, when they tried to sell her, and they was like, she cooks, she cleans, and nobody wanted her, and they let her go, and she followed her son-in-law all the way until she couldn't see him no more. That was heart wrenching for me
Yeah,
because
because she
she
loved
had
them.
yeah, she loved him in her own special way. And you could just see, I just want to run up and hug you. I just want to, tell you you're not bad. Tell you, I felt bad for him. Like, that is the honest, like, right there. I felt like before they all were picking on him and giving him the boar testicles to eat.
He might have actually needed that. That character is blunted, portrayed by the actor Jonathan Brewer. So just to provide a little context, he hasn't been able to get his wife pregnant, okay? And, his mother-in-law is giving him a hard time. So much so that you know what? I'm not even going to say what she does, but his wife, Skyflower says to her mother, and you're just gonna have to watch. Now that was funny. That was funny. I like that part too. So you're gonna have to watch the movie to find out what I'm referencing because, yeah. So Blunted and Skyflowers, and Blunted and his wife Skyflower, but his name is Blunted. Maybe that's what's going on with him. Why did you name your son Blunted?
Well, his parents wasn't there. He only had his wife and the mother-in-law.
Like
If you know,
blunted, like names are everything. Names are really important. And that's just my personal belief. You can't just call a person blunted. Of course, his seeds aren't sprouting. You call him blunted. The name is messed up.
but see, here's the thing. He came through for his friend, though.
Anyway,
He came through for his friend. No, I mean, towards the end, he helped him do what he needed to do to get to that corn patch.
he did. Blunted did help Jaguar Paw, who's portrayed by Rudy Youngblood. So he did. Blunted did his thing. He did his thing.
Character arc, once again, character arc. It came full circle where he was either going to put up or shut up, be a coward and cry and whine or do something. And he chose to do something, even though it cost him his life.
Yeah, that's right. He helped the Jaguar. So,
Hmm.
yeah, those are definitely moments, I think key moments in the film that definitely struck those emotions. And I guess that's also number six. Did it keep my attention? Let's be more specific about it. Did it keep your attention, Miss P?
Yes, after watching it so many times, I've seen this movie probably about 5 times now, right? Every time I watch it, there's something new that stuck out to me more than previously seen. Like, you know how sometimes you can watch something and you're like, okay, great. And then you watch something and you're like, oh, I didn't pay attention to that, or this was weird, or, this is like my fifth time watching this movie. So did it keep my attention? Yes, there were parts that really kept my attention more than others because it was a lot of it was them trying to get to the Mayan Empire. And things kept happening. And you're like, what else? What else can happen? What else? What
Yeah.
else can happen?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, it kept my attention. It could have kept my attention more strongly, but Miss P brings up a good point. She said this is her fifth time seeing it. This was my first time watching this movie. Like, my first time watching this movie, 19 years after this movie has been made, is my first time. So, like, if we travel back 19 years ago, my perceptions would definitely have been different. I remember when it was being marketed, and I remember that there were controversies too that I'll talk about more in number five. But I remember this film. I just didn't watch it for whatever reason. I was clearly doing something else with my time. So it kept my attention, not to the max, I'm gonna say, but did I pay attention to it? To the max? Well, yeah, because I gotta I gotta review this thing for you, you know? So, yeah. Number five.
Production elements.
Production elements. Mr. Mel Gibson. Mr. Mel Gibson. I gotta tell you, you one heck of a filmmaker. You really are. I love watching your work. I know Miss P loves watching your work. This is a
Mhm.
it's a good film. And production element wise, it made it for its budget. It didn't do it. It's one of his best performing film, really.
Once again, if we travel in that time machine, when it came, it was ahead of its time before CGI really was CGI. Like they did a lot of stuff, but they did a lot of their own acting.
It was daring. It was daring. You have no major stars, so you don't have a principal character. You don't have a Chris Hemsworth. Okay, there's no
Oh
Chris
my God.
Evans, no Ryan Gosling, there's no Denzel Washington, there's
Mad
no
Max
Will
Furiosa.
Smith, right?
Mad Max Furiosa. There it is. She said it.
What? No, that's not what I was saying.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mad Max Furiosa. We're
Yeah,
on our fifth film, sixth film, and it still get brought up. It is still being brought up today. Cause my goodness, to high heaven, that movie was the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. Okay, anyway,
I did not say anything about that. All I said, you know
you,
what,
you
man?
named him.
Still, how many weeks ago did we review? You listen, ladies and gentlemen, to understand the beef that Miss P has, go back and watch Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, a George Miller film, okay? anyways, so
Okay,
yeah.
let's get back to it. The film was filmed in Mexico.
Hmm.
Can't. It was filmed in, I'm sorry because I'm not gonna try to butcher the name, so I'm gonna spell it. It's Catemaco, Mexico. They did a cast of indigenous performers, and this movie was shot using high definition digital video.
Yeah, the budget from differing sources, $40 million, $50 million. Box office, $120.7 million. This movie, when it first came out, because of all of the stuff surrounding it, they were talking about scandal, they were talking about R-rated stuff when this movie came out, and so when this movie came out, when it debuted, people didn't have the highest expectations. They're like, nah, nah. But when it finally came out and debuted, it ended the weekend with $14.9 million. Okay. And people were talking about, oh, people are going to walk out of this movie. It's so violent. Okay. But this movie competed directly up against Leonardo DiCaprio. Okay. And Cameron Diaz. All right. And this is back in 2006, right? Leonardo DiCaprio, Cameron Diaz are at the top of their game right now, right? We still love you too. We will always love you, you two actors, right? But they came out, they outdid them. They outdid them so much so that Disney was like, whoa, 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 hello, what have we here? Disney was like, okay, we can do something with this. It just really outperformed on so many levels. So many levels. So, and what is it? Was Happy Feet? Did Happy Feet come out too? But anyways, it did great.
This movie was the next movie that we did that was not a flop. This movie was not a flop.
That's right. It was not a flop because you had Sony's Casino Royale coming out. You had Blood Diamond coming out. You know, you have all these movies out here. Kate Winslet's doing her thing. Jack Black and Jude Law. I think that was Sony's, like, was it the holiday? So, like, you know, like, they were doing their thing. So this movie really performed quite well, very well. And when you look at it, it was nominated for 3 Oscars.
And go
That's
ahead.
right. It was nominated, and in the Dallas-Fort Worth Film Critics Association Awards, this film won for Best Cinematography. Dean Semler.
And a little bit about Dean to just to put it out there, he is 81 years old.
Hey, Dean.
He's 81 years old. He is a three-time recipient of the AACTA Award for Best Cinematography and Academy Award winner. And in 2002, he was appointed the member of the Order of Australia.
Okay, that's pretty cool. This film also was a 2007 winner in the Golden Reel Award in Motion Picture Sound Editors USA, nominated in the Golden Globes. So yeah, and again nominated in the Academy Award. Yeah, when you go back and you look at the film again, I might have viewed it differently if I had watched it 19 years ago. But yeah, Miss M was clearly doing something else.
Because I think, because we went to the same school together, and I try to get everybody to watch it in the Student Activity Center.
Zach, yeah.
Like all things, she was like, "Yeah, I'll watch it." Didn't show. It's okay. No, no hurt feelings.
Hey, you know me. You know me. Come on, Miss P. You know me. Always very, very doing something else. Nah, but seriously though, we go back. We go way back, back to college type of back. Even sororities, you know, type of back. And so, you know, FYI, Miss P can be very, 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 very much like you're doing this and you have no choice.
There's always choices. There's always
Anyways, though,
choices.
we can't tell you about that. You know, that's a separate thing. That's maybe a Patreon request. Alright. We're not gonna give you our entire backstory. We're just starting to get to know you. We're newbies in this podcast game. But once we get to know you better, maybe we'll tell you a little bit more about us. But as far as those production elements are concerned, you know, Mexico is a beautiful place. It has a wonderful landscape. If you've ever traveled to Mexico, you know, they pride themselves in how natural their food is. Um, they just, I tell you, when I went to Mexico, I ordered a fruit juice and I waited for like 20 minutes for my fruit juice at a restaurant. And I was like, what are we doing over here? And you know what they were doing? They were literally making my fruit juice. Like they were blending the strawberries, the blueberries, the blackberries, the pineapple, the orange. I had, you know, that was the first time I had ever had fruit juice made for me like that. And that was IHOP, everybody. Yeah, that's right. The International House of Pancakes in Mexico City, by the way. So just they have so many things there. Go if you haven't been, go. There's so much to see. So the production, the location is everything. This beautiful location, sweeping shots. They didn't waste any shots to showcase that landscape. So I appreciated that. Yeah, I appreciated it. Anything else you
Hmm.
want to say, Miss P?
Not really. I just wanted to let you know most of this was shot on location. Like the where the lime builders were smothering the lime on the wall and the forest and the actual castles. So a lot of this was shot on like on scene. So at the actual location. So
Yeah,
that's all I want to say.
Yeah, that was and that was great. So Mr. Dean Simler, that was what's up. Thank you. Thank you, Dean, for your expertise. So bringing it to number four, that brings us to directing. Yeah.
So let's talk about how Mel Gibson was co-directing with someone.
They
The
call that
film was, go
they
ahead,
they call that they say that this film was directed by Mel.
who co-wrote.
Safina.
He is an Iranian American screenwriter, film, TV producer, and director. He's best known for Apocalypto, Boss, and The Professor and The Madman. And
Hey, Paul.
he also went by PB Sharan in the latter.
That's what's up.
He went to Cambridge. He
Oh
went to
yeah.
King's College, Cambridge, where he studied economics.
Don't you just love economics? Microeconomics, macroeconomics, economics, yes. So yes, definitely. So for art and directing, Mel Gibson is one of my favorite filmmakers. I was really excited to see him take that cross from actor to director. And, he's always been a little controversial, Mel Gibson, but you know what they say, all publicity is good publicity. We love Mel Gibson. He's an OG in the game. Taking it back. 1979. Mad.
Mm.
I mean, Mel had such a baby face.
That's when he was young and fresh and hot off the presses.
Quite
Because he was
clearly.
in every movie. He was in just about every movie in the 80s that
He
you
was
could think
pretty
about.
much just off his mom's teeth. Okay, like when I watched that movie, because when by the time we're born, Mel Gibson is way, way, way into his game. So we're not even. So when we see Mel Gibson, we're not even used to him looking that way. I mean, we recognize that's him, right? But we're not used to him looking that way. I was like, whoa. What is this? This teenager Mel Gibson, So, we have to travel back to those films and actually watch them, You gotta like make an effort to go back in the late 70s, because we did not exist. I like him as a director. But it's as you said, there's an arc. There's a complete beginning, there's a middle, there's an end, and he likes his religious matter, doesn't he, Miss P?
Yes. Because the co-director that I was just telling you about, he met him from Passion of the Christ, where he worked with him before. So it was easy for them to write
Yeah, for
this
hard to
together.
write, the writer, yeah.
So it was easy for them to work together because they already knew each other.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Because Passion of the Christ had already come out. That's right. And this whole thing is just very prophetic. The whole thing is extremely prophetic. So yes, there is a beginning, middle, end. So I'm going to try to say it as loosely as possible. Okay, as to not to give away any details that would spoil it for people who have not watched this film. You have a young man, the protagonist. His name is Jaguar Paw. Okay, Jaguar and his people, they are enslaved. Okay, he leaves behind his pregnant wife and a very, very young son, right? By, of course, being bondage. He's bound and tied, okay? At the height, I'm not going to say there's something celestial in the sky that happens. And then that's pretty much the climb. You're definitely at the middle of the movie here. Okay, you're definitely at the climax, and he says, "I will not die." To Blunted, when Blunted says to him, "Travel well," he says, "No, now's not the time. This is not the time." And then there is a clear ending when he, let's just say, comes out and does his thing, and he puts up one heck of a fight. So in the midst of this, with our character, our protagonist, we're seeing some amazing things here. We're seeing Jaguar be reborn. Literally, there's a rebirth. here. It's very symbolic. There's a lot of prophecies being told here. There's a lot of prophecies being ignored here. And then there's not character development at all. Because with Jaguar, I would like to say in the beginning, there's a warning by a tribe who wants to pass through. Now, his father says to him they are scared, that they have fear within them, and that fear is a sickness, it is a disease, and you must not let it infect you. But don't worry, we'll talk about this in the morning. But fear has its place. Okay, fear can help you prepare. No preparation was done. What happened? There's a dream, right? Jaguar Paw has a dream. Then what happens in the morning? A raid, right? So there's all these warnings, there's all these prophecies. But when we're at the climax and Jaguar Paw is doing his thing, he's going through the water, he's being reborn, he's coming in contact with an actual jaguar. And at one point in time, he, I think, goes through a symbolic transformation when I'm not going to say how, but he emerges in all black and even has postures and where he resembles a literal jaguar. So we do see him become something seemingly more than just a man.
You gotta, okay, so I'm gonna say this. There's one part, the rebirth really literally happened. He fell into quicksand almost, but it was mud. So, mud sand?
Quicksand.
But he fell into it and he came up a new person because he was like, I will not die here today. I will use the things around me to make sure I will not die here today.
I wasn't trying to say that exactly. They don't need to know that.
But
They
you
don't.
don't know what's happening. You don't know what part I'm talking about. You don't know if it's middle, end, beginning. See, that's the mystery. You have to watch the movie. And just a spoiler alert, it is in their language, so you're gonna have to read. If you don't like to
Read,
watch if you don't
read
like to watch
subtitles.
movies where you have to read, this might not be for you.
Yeah, yeah, it's all in subtitles. I mean, but
Mhm.
I mean, I think it's pretty good, So yeah, that's all I really have to say about the directing. And when you think about Mel as a director, hey, by the way, did we say hi to Mel?
We did.
All right. Well, when you think about Mel as a director, I want to say it again. Hey, Mel. When you think about him, you do have his characteristic trademark all throughout this movie. And I like his take on prophecy and dreams and the little girl who just pretty much told them what was going to happen. And I think the reason why we see the smallpox that come in, even though that was not going to come in until later, really, with the settlers coming in, I think it's because he was being or using that to foreshadow what was going to happen at the very end of the movie. And I was wondering, I was like, you know what? This is blah, blah, blah. This has something to do with the settlers. It's blah, blah, blah. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Okay. And I
Okay.
had to wait to see it because I had to wait. So you gotta wait. You gotta watch the movie. Anything else about the directing?
Not at all. But number three, the quality of. I have a lot to say. None of these actors have acted before. They were all unknown new actors. And for Mel to come in and direct people that have never acted before, that was a big thing. Like this movie, everyone's like, oh, Mitch just Mel Gibson doing his thing that he always does with, epics. Well, whatever. It was historically accurate. And I think people were blown away because it was different. Like, you know how you have seasoned actors and you can tell, oh my gosh, they really put their foot into it. Well, these were all new people and they really put their foot into their roles. Every single person. There was nobody that was just a horrible actor in this movie.
No, no. There are definitely people that you don't like, but it's the character that you don't like. Anytime you have an actor that's giving the portrayal of a character and you just don't like that character, it means the actor's doing a good job, right? Gosh, I don't like you. They're doing a really good job tapping into your emotions because that's what actors are supposed to do. They're supposed to give a portrayal of somebody who is different from them and get you into your emotions, because it definitely did. Like Zero Wolf, portrayed by Raul Trujillo. Yeah, that guy. Like he
He
was
wore a
going.
prosthetic nose.
Yeah, yeah, he was getting on my nerves. Like he was relentless in his pursuit. That's all I'm gonna say about him. Like, moral of the story. All I'm gonna say, ladies and gentlemen, what's the moral of the story? Revenge will and can consume you. Yeah.
Yes, in the worst ways.
So don't. That's the moral of this story.
But see, the quality of acting was good because everybody was new. You did not have a main principal character. Everybody showed off. Whether they were on screen for 5 seconds or 10 minutes or an hour, they all showed off. And I like that. Especially the little girl. The little girl that did the prophecy.
Let me see if I
Spotlight
can
was
find
on
it.
her. The spotlight was all on her, and she took it. She took it and made it work. Cause she said, "Do you want to know how you're gonna die?" And the guy stopped and looked at her because he poked her really, really hard with that stick to make her stay away. She was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Do you want to know how you're gonna die?" Well, let
Yeah.
me tell you.
Yeah, and she tells him, doesn't she? She doesn't
Mm-hmm.
leave anything out. There's so many warnings that they're given, but they're so drunk with ego, so drunken with vengeance.
Well, with power, it's a power thing. That's a power play.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna rape
the
and pillage your
ego.
I want to rape and pillage your village and burn it to the ground. No, what does that remind you of? Because it be your own people sometimes that be plotting your downfall.
And sometimes, yeah, but for me, I would say those are not their people.
No, I mean they were all different. They were their subsection of people, same people, just different group.
Yeah, saying yeah, like the United States, but like we have all these different subcultures in the overall umbrella of the United States. Same thing here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that little girl, she's just a village girl. If you look at the credits, village girl, and her name is Lorena Hernandez. Well, the name of the little actress, now grown, who portrayed her, Lorena Hernandez, who portrayed the village girl. And if you go to IMDb, most of their pictures are not even here. They're just not here. You just have to look at the movie. If you just search Apocalypto, you can see they have most of the pictures here, but um,
You have to go on YouTube to look to see the little girl if you want to see that because
yeah,
it's a scene and it's probably like a minute and 35 seconds long of this
yeah,
little girl just being an amazing actress.
yeah. And wait a minute, do I have a picture of her? You know what? That's not even her name. Okay. Her name is very, 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 very traditional. So I'm going to do my best to say it. So, but first I'm going to spell it. It's Aquetzali. Okay. Perhaps is it a traditionally Mayan name, or maybe it's more traditionally Aztec. But the letters and the phonetics kind of blur. But anyways, Aquitzali Garcia, that is her name. That is who she is. Then we need to go probably actually fix this on IMDb. But anyways, that's the name of our little girl here. I'm glad I found her.
It's not so little anymore.
That's right. She's probably grown with kids, probably have
So,
grandkids. Okay, not that old.
no, not that old. She probably has kids.
Yeah, not married with kids. And she's very photogenic.
Uh,
But
and
anyway,
then, yes,
so P, what about that sound quality and effects?
it was the best. The reason being is because they had one camera that, like, when he jumped off the waterfall, you could see everything. They
Yeah.
used little to no CGI at all. during this whole entire movie. And they filmed basically on location for a year so they could get their shots. But the sound quality was amazing. Like nothing sounded muffled, nothing sounded crazy. Like when they were getting ready to do, get the lopping off of the head, you could hear their heart. You could hear everything, and it was clear. You could hear the waterfall going. Like you could see the desperation of the one guy that had gotten pierced in the side. He was trying to walk. He was trying to breathe. He was trying to do all that stuff. You see?
Yeah, yeah. I definitely agree. It was like the heart beating, boom, 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 boom. So if you're not into gore, blood, it's that this movie, is not going to be for you if you should get queasy at the sight of blood because there's a lot of it.
Once again, wouldn't be a Mel Gibson epic if there was no gore.
I wouldn't say it's the most gruesome, especially, Quentin Tarantino. He takes the cake. Okay. Mel didn't even, in my opinion, Mel didn't even get close to Quentin, but it's still gory, okay? There's still a lot in there and also nudity.
I
There's
would
gonna
say this kind of takes the like if I had to rate his gore level, it would be Passion of the Christ would be number one. Like for gore for Mel Gibson would be Passion of the Christ.
so this is at
Then
the
this
number
movie.
one is at the height.
Yes, the height of the gore will be the Passion of the Christ, then this one, then the Patriot, then no, Braveheart, then the Patriot. Yeah, for the gore factor.
Gory, 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 glory. Yes. Okay. Well, Miss P, I'm gonna bring you in to the cinematography. Ding, 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 ding. Tell us about the
Yes, this is
cinematography.
my favorite thing. Let me tell you, beautifully shot, no CGI. Things were all in nature, shot on location, used the things in nature. Like it was just beautifully shot, beautifully crafted. Nothing bad happened. Loved it. If
Yep.
I had to give it anything, it would be a 10 out of 10 for cinematography. It would be a Ghost Carolina Reaper. It would be a Carolina Reaper for cinematography for me. But the movie would still be how no habanero. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it at a habanero. But the cinematography is a Carolina Reaper for me because it
Definitely.
was beautiful.
Definitely when it comes to the cinematography, I agree with you. Um, and taking it through the P&M's movie criticisms criteria, taking into consideration the beginning, middle, end, he does eventually. Jaguar does reach his goal. Jaguar does go through a water and a rebirth. Now, for me, I do believe he has a double rebirth here. Okay, there's a double rebirth going on here. There's the waterfall, and then there's the second part where he comes up all black like a jaguar. When I take into considerations the warnings from the tribe trying to escape the Mayan Empire, when I take into consideration the dreams, when I take into consideration the village girl and the name Jaguar, Jaguar Paw, and also the water and twice rebirth. And not to mention his baby. And I think it's very prophetic that his baby is born in water. So because this baby is born in water, I think that lends to this strong prophetic tell that Mel Gibson is telling. So, taking that into consideration, I will move it up from a jalapeno to a habanero.
Look, here's the thing. The name Jaguar originates from the Native American word Jager, meaning he who kills with one leap, or wild beast that overcomes its prey at a bound.
Jaguars. Again, just jaguars and the Mayan culture is just very, very the name itself is prophetic and the symbolism of it is just amazing when you talk about the jaguar. Okay. And then there's jaguars, there's the jaguar is a symbol of power and authority. Not to mention, did they say some people wear it? And then there's the Jaguar God. There's a lot to read about the Jaguar. So, and then,
It represents strength, Courage. Yeah. Strength and courage.
Strength, courage. It's just,
And ferocity.
yeah. And I remember reading something about the underrealm, it's like the underworld too. Like the jaguar is also said to be like the gatekeeper to the underworld as well. So, this just the name jaguar. And again, when you look at this historical context, that jaguar paw was real, was an actual Mayan king and a good one too. So it would have been very interesting to see that happen.
Well, guess what? They're making an Apocalypto too. Yep.
What?
I was gonna save that for the last. They're making an Apocalypto 2. Mel Gibson set to direct, and Jaguar Paul will be back.
Jaguar Paw's coming back, y'all. Jaguar Paw is coming back. All right, let's see what happens because I'm interested. I want to see what happens.
And you're correct. The Jaguar god of the underworld was one of the most important and deities. He was a Mayan person. The Mayan religion worshipped him. The
Jaguar Paw.
Aztecs, the Aztecs did, the Mayan did, and the other Mesoamerican cultures also did.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Nice Mesoamerican. That's right. So, I'm definitely interested in seeing Mr. Mel Gibson do his thing. I am a Mel Gibson fan, so Lethal Weapon, yay. Okay, I like the Lethal Weapon franchise. They should do another one. Come on.
Let good things. Let
Let good things rest. Sometimes we do, kind of like how The Walking Dead should have ended after 4 seasons, but let's not talk about that right now. Yeah, you're right. Just let it be, right? Just let it be. We'll just let Lethal Weapon be. We liked it. 'Cause, I forgot the name of the name of the actor Danny Glover portrays, because he always says, I'm too old for this, and he definitely would be now.
yeah.
He definitely would
Because
be
he was
now.
old then, and he's pushing it.
We're pushing it, right? But anyway, I guess that's it. That's all I have to say. All I
Roger
have to say.
Montauk.
Huh?
Roger.
Oh yes, Roger. Yes, yes, that's right. Roger, I'm too old for this, as I censor myself. Well, that's all I have to say. Anything else, Miss P?
Nope, that's all I had to say. But catch us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Catch us with our Patreon. Come visit us on our website. Leave your questions. I'm more than welcome, if you know me personally, to bring your questions, but leave them on the website. Talk to us. Let us know what's going on.
Yes, yes, please engage with us. Leave comments. Leave comments. Please, please. Write to us. We want to start a conversation with you, not just like verbally face to face, but with a community that we're building as well. People who are movie lovers. You might encourage them, and you never know who you might meet and spark a conversation with. Well, Miss P, it's time.
It's always
Everybody,
something.
huh?
Just remember, they did make a Lethal Weapon 4 in 1998. Let it go. Let it go.
We're letting it go. I'm not arguing with you. It's like Roger said, I'm too old for this. Well, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this journey again. Please come back and join us next week. I'm Miss M, and I'm about this piece.
And I'm Miss P. Bye.
See y'all later.